Senator Torres, any questions or comments? Do we have any alternative at this point?
No, sir, I do not believe we do.
So I guess Senator Berryhill's point is maybe we, hindsight being 2020, maybe we should have figured this out several years ago, I suppose. But we are where we are. The staff recommendation on this is to approve as budgeted with modifications requested in the spring finance letter. LAO, any concerns?
No concerns.
Other than those expressed?
Exactly. I think 2020, possibly, but given where we are, we don't see that there's another alternative.
Finance? Okay. Let's move on to issue number 3, Equipment Maintenance Management Insurance Program.
So the governor's budget includes an increase of $199,000 in service revolving fund authority and 2 limited term positions to provide the necessary support to expand the Equipment Maintenance Management Insurance Program. This program replaces an organization's traditional maintenance agreements with an insurance program, which achieves cost savings, eliminates the need for agencies to prepare individual service orders for repairs, provides better access to vendors in remote locations, centralizes tracking for all insured equipment, eliminates the potential for duplicate contracts, and simplifies the payment process.
Okay, LAO?
We have no concerns.
Finance? Senator Berryhill? Nope. Senator Torres? Okay, this recommendation, as well as to approve as budgeted, we'll take that up in a minute. Issue number 4 is Office of Administrative Hearings. Thank you, ma'am.
Sorry.
I was just thanking the presenter.
The governor's budget includes a permanent increase of $1.8 million in service revolving fund authority and 19 positions to increase staffing levels in the Office of Administrative Hearings to better meet increasing demands for hearing service levels or for hearing services and improve the level of adjudicatory services to client agencies.
What are your metrics for administrative law judges, and what's the current caseload per judge?
The current caseload per judge, I'm Linda Kabatic. Good morning or good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee.
Couldn't prove it by me. I'm morning, afternoon, anyway.
Sort of in between. I think I said my name. I'm Linda Kabatic, Director of the Office of Administrative Hearings. I think we're on the same wavelength. The current metrics for our judges are governed by the number of cases that are coming in. Currently, we have about 3,600 cases for our General Jurisdiction Division that are currently pending. And I think the concerns that the LAO addressed relate to our General Jurisdiction Division. We also have a Special Education Division that has about 3,000 cases as well that they're handling. Our LA office currently has 1,300 cases. Our Oakland office has about 500 plus cases. Our Sacramento office has about 970 cases, and our San Diego office has about 800 offices.
What does that work out to per judge?
Well, we
In the general jurisdiction, for example.
the average is between 100 and 150 cases.
What's the optimum?
The optimum caseload?
Yes.
I don't know if there is an optimum caseload.
Well, I mean, from a planning perspective, you must have a figure that you like to see each judge carry as a matter of course. Is it 50, 75, 200?
Well, we do, but with the budget cuts and with the calendar, we sort of fit in cases as we can. If a case settles, we have another case that we can assign to a judge. It's constantly in play. And so what we try and do is maximize the number of cases that we hear. We have master calendars for some agencies where they can put short cause matters. One ALJ can hear about 4 cases in a day. For some boards and commissions, we hear 7 petitions for reinstatements or early termination of probation. So it just depends on what's coming in the door, who's available, and how we can handle the caseload. So there
Well, how do you, I mean, you must have some metric or some basis for deciding whether you need new positions. Is it when your judges hit an average of 200 cases a judge, or your decisions take 180 days? I mean, what's the basis for determining that you need 19 positions?
So it would be that latter statistic. That's the one we have been benchmarking, is the number of days, and Linda can correct me, but from when a case is filed to when it is heard.
Wouldn't that depend on the type of case and the division that you're talking about? Maybe general jurisdiction takes longer than special ed, or special ed takes longer than general jurisdiction. I mean, I'm just trying to get an idea. I don't know how you work.
The BCP is based on our pro tem hours and the number of pro tem hours. We hire independent contractors to serve as administrative law judges when our current permanent ALJs can't handle the workload. So they come in and handle short cause matters, which are less than a day. And based on the number of hours that we've been using our pro tems is how we've figured out the number of positions that we need for our ALJs. For our general jurisdiction division, we handle a wide variety of cases. A medical board can take anywhere between a week to 6 weeks, depending upon the complexity of the issues. We had a Department of Insurance case that took 2 years. We have teacher disciplinary cases that could last up to 6 weeks or less. So when you assign one judge to one of those cases, that takes that judge out of the bullpen. So we have to call in others to assist. So it's hard to say.
How do you monitor the performance of your ALJs, and do you determine it based on the length of time that it takes an ALJ to generate a decision after the close of a case?
Well, not necessarily, because we have statutory timelines that we have to meet. When a case is submitted, we have 30 days to write a decision. So the cases have to be completed. The decision has to be issued within 30 days. For teacher layoff hearings, that time frame is shortened because the notices go out on March 15th. The hearings have to be held and decided before May 7th. So there's a lot of juggling.
Does the judge, I assume since it's a statute that each of your administrative law judges meets the statutory deadline for the issuance of a decision?
Correct. And we monitor the length of time it takes the decisions to get out on a monthly basis to make sure that we're within the time frames. If there are cases that aren't within the time frames, then we talk to the judge and we try and get that judge on writing time so that the decisions could get out on a timely basis.
Good. Good. Colleagues, any questions? Senator Berrio? Senator Torres? Forget, LAO, did I ask you?
Not yet, sir. We do have a couple recommendations related to this proposal. We do recommend approving the staff changes, which largely replace temporary ALJ, administrative law judge positions, with permanent positions, and also add some support staff, because we do think the ongoing workload does merit those positions. However, we do note that there is a very lengthy case setting timeline now. It's on average about 244 days, which is above the benchmark of 120. And we do note that this is a pretty modest increase in the number of judgeship hours that's being requested. So we are concerned that this may not be sufficient to bring the Office of Administrative Hearings back down to that benchmark. So we're recommending some reporting language for the Office of Administrative Hearings so that the legislature can continue to monitor whether this proposal is effective at meeting those timelines.
We'd be happy to work with staff and the LAO in order to craft the language that would provide the information that you need.
Fine. Finance?
Tamara Johnson, Department of Finance. We support the governor's budget proposal. However, we have no concerns with the supplemental reporting language.
Recommendation will be to approve consistent with the LAO recommendation. We'll take a vote after public comment. Thank you very much. Issue number 5 is entitled Intellectual Property.
The governor's budget includes a permanent increase of $393,000 in fiscal year 14-15, and that drops to $319,000 in fiscal year 15-16. in the service revolving fund and 2 positions to create a state legal policy framework for capitalizing on state-created intellectual property and to create and maintain the necessary legal licenses as mandated by AB 744. This will provide DGS with the staff needed to provide education, outreach, and oversight efforts for this activity.
LAO?
You have no concerns?
Finance? Colleagues, questions?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to be voting for this bill. I think it is consistent with the fiscal estimates. I didn't vote for this in 2012, but it is law now, so I'm gonna go ahead and say yes.
Okay. As I said, recommendation is to approve as budgeted. We'll take this up for vote after public comment. Thank you, sir. Issue 6, electric vehicle charging station.
The governor's budget includes reimbursement authority of $1 million in fiscal year 14-15 and $600,000 in fiscal year 15-16. These funds are available through the California Energy Commission in order to satisfy the requirements of Executive Orders B-1612 and B-1812 and will be used to install additional electric vehicle supply equipment in DGS's parking facilities statewide that do not currently have this equipment.
LAO?
You have no concerns?
Finance? Senator Berryhill?
Yeah, I got a number of questions for you on this. It's 1.6 million, is that right?
That is correct.
Yeah, how many zero-emission vehicles are on the road right now in California? Any idea?
I don't believe we have that figure, sir.
So we don't know how many of those are members of the state fleet inventory either then, do we?
I believe we do have the number of zero-emission vehicles in the state fleet. Tom, do you have?
Mr. Chairman and members, Thomas Piet, supervising architect with DGS. I believe the number of in the DGS fleet is about 65.
65, and how many stations do we currently have?
About 64 in our various parking
Is
garages.
this one charger per car? Is that how it works?
No, it would be approximately 2 cars per charger.
Okay. Yeah, we're over capacity right now. What is the need? Is it just because we have this money, or if it's overkill, why aren't we putting that money back into the general fund?
The CEC funding is coming from the Alternative and Renewable Energy and Vehicle Technology Program, AB 118.
Right.
I don't believe those are coming from the general fund.
I'm sorry, there's also, I believe it's an executive order to increase the number of zero-emission vehicles in the fleet at a particular rate. I believe it's 10%.
It's at least 10% of fleet purchases of light-duty vehicles by 2015 and 25% of fleet vehicles by 2020.
So how many stations do we need for that in your estimate?
As far as DGS fleet is concerned, I do not have those figures.
The stations wouldn't be used just for DGS fleet. They would go into DGS-owned facilities, but they would be available for DGS fleet. But a lot of the facilities we have are occupied by persons who are not in DGS fleet vehicles.
Yeah, we have 2 requirements. One is under B-1612, which requires fleet vehicle purchases, and the other one is B-1812, which requires consideration of installing EVSE at employee parking as well. And DGS has 13,700 parking spaces within its facilities.
So basically, we're subsidizing the public need here, in a way.
Well, a lot of these would be actually state employees, but they wouldn't be driving fleet vehicles.
Yeah, what percentage of demand for charging stations do you envision will be met by the private sector versus the public sector? Is this going to be all public, or do you see the private sector getting involved with this, or what's the vision?
In terms of installation or in terms of use in the facilities?
Both.
In terms of use of the facilities, I think we are looking at making them available to the public that also parks in these facilities. And we are going to institute a fee, I believe it is $1.15 per hour.
July 1st.
As of July 1st.
Okay. Well,
I'm sorry, to answer your second question, I'm not really sure at this point what the private sector, the other part of your question. I not believe we have that data.
all right, well, Mr. Chairman, to me, we are spending taxpayer money simply because you have a surplus, and isn't this just artificially driving the market for electrical vehicles? This is not a prudent use of taxpayer dollars, and if you have a surplus of money, then we should give it back to the general fund and not spend for just no good reason. Thank you.
This, any further questions, Senator Torres?
The environment would be grateful.
Let's do this. Let's pause at this point and take any public comment on issues 1 through 6, if there is public comment. Public comment? Let's, we're gonna take a vote. We're gonna start issue by issue and then return to issue number 7. Let's start with issue number 6, electric vehicle charging station. Is there a motion? It's been moved. Please call the roll.
Senator Roth?
Aye.
Senator Berryhill?
No.
Senator Torres?
Aye.
Colleagues, may we take issues 1 through 5 together, or would you like them split, Senator Berryhill?
Yeah, we need to split them up a little bit.
Okay. Let's take issue 5, intellectual property. Is there a motion?
So moved.
It's been moved on issue 5. Call the roll.
We're going backwards. We're backing into this. Oh, yeah, that's right, okay.
Motion.
Yeah, so moved.
Okay, call the roll, please.
Senator Roth?
Aye.
Senator Berryhill?
Aye.
Senator Torres?
Issue number 4 is Office of Administrative Hearings. The recommendation, as I indicated, is to approve consistent with the LAO recommendation. Is there a motion?
So moved.
It's been moved. Call the roll.
Senator Roth?
Aye.
Senator Berryhill?
Aye.
Senator Torres?
Issue number 3, the recommendation is to approve as budgeted. Is there a motion? This is Equipment Maintenance Management Insurance Program.
So moved.
It's been moved. Please call the roll.
Senator Roth?
Aye.
Senator Berryhill?
Aye.
Senator Torres?
Issue number 2, Mercury Cleaners Site Remediation. The staff recommendation, as I previously noted, I believe, is to approve as budgeted with modifications requested in the spring finance letter. Is there a motion?
So moved.
It's been moved. Please call the roll.
Senator Roth?
Aye.
Senator Berryhill?
No.
Senator Torres?
Issue number 1, Excess Properties Interim Support and Consultant Services. The recommendation from staff is to approve as budgeted. Do I hear a recommendation? I mean, a motion, excuse me. It's been moved. Please call the roll.
Senator Roth?
Aye.
Senator Berryhill?
Aye.
Senator Torres?
We're returning to the lineup here, and issue number 7 is sale leaseback of legal fees.
The governor's budget includes general fund augmentation in the amount of $492,000 in fiscal year 13-14 and $582,000 in fiscal year 14-15 to fund ongoing legal costs required to represent the state in a lawsuit due to the cancellation of the sale leaseback of state-owned properties agreement. DGS will incur continuing legal costs to prepare for a trial date set in October 2014. This proposal includes budget bill language for reappropriation of any unexpended fiscal year 13-14 funds for the purposes provided in that appropriation to be available for encumbrance or expenditure until June 30th, 2015.
LAO? Finance? Colleagues, Senator Berryhill.
Yeah. What is the level of exposure that the state's facing here?
Good afternoon, Chairman Roth, Senators. My name is Henry Nanja. I'm the Assistant Chief Counsel at Department of General Services. Senator Berryhill, I'm not sure I understand your question. Are you saying the exposure if we lose the case?
Yeah.
The exposures this is an unusual situation because we're actually being sued by both sides, i.e. we're being sued
That's
by...
how we roll.
That's exactly right. We're the state of California. We're being sued by the entity that we didn't sell the property to. We're also being sued by an entity consisting of a number of former and current JPA board members of the facilities to prevent us from selling the properties, or saying it's beyond the authority of the state to sell those properties for a variety of reasons. So we're actually defending against two lawsuits. If we win one, presumably we would lose the other and vice versa. But that being said, the potential exposure in a worst-case scenario is if we were to lose to the entity that we were selling the buildings to, they would claim lost profits from the failure to go forward with the sale. It's a bit speculative what that number could be, but clearly in the multi-millions of dollars.
Okay, yeah. What's the likelihood of the state prevailing in this? I guess it depends which one you're talking about, huh?
Exactly. Generally speaking, we feel very strongly that we should prevail on the case brought against us by the entity that's suing us to complete the sale. We feel strongly that if that occurs and we do prevail on that case, the other party will we could work out some sort of resolution, which may be a partial payment of attorney's fees to date or something to that effect.
Only in California. I will be backing this bill, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Torres, any questions? Any public comment? Is there a motion? And the recommendation is to approve as budgeted. Call the roll.
Senator Roth?
Aye.
Senator Berryhill?
Aye.
Senator Torres?
The next issue, issue number 8, is capital outlay. The staff recommendation is to approve as budgeted. Sir, will you identify yourself, please?
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, Jim Martone, Department of General Services.
Thank you. We have a new team to my left. Sort of.
Thank you. Brian Dewey, Department of Finance.
Thanks, Brent.
Jason Haas, Department of Finance.
Thank you, sir. You may proceed, sir. Issue 8.
This proposal requests $2.5 million in general fund authority for the development of a long-range planning study for the Sacramento region to determine the best course of action to address the state's infrastructure deficiencies and space needs within this region, with a focus on controlling long-term costs. In addition to developing a strategic plan for the Sacramento region, the study is also expected to be used as the basis for developing detailed cost scope information to be contained in future budget proposals. Looking at the proposal itself, of the $2.5 million, $1.3 million is to fund facility condition assessments. $700,000 is to fund a project sequencing plan. $250,000 is to fund an economic analysis and funding plan. $50,000 is to fund an updated office planning study, and $200,000 for administering this effort.
Elio?
We do have some comments and some concerns related to this proposal. As was noted, there are 4 components of the proposal. There's an update to an office planning study, which is a relatively small portion of the proposal. There are facility condition assessments for all the buildings in the Sacramento region. And then there's also a funding plan that's proposed as well as a sequencing plan. So our recommendations include that we do recommend approving $1.5 million for the first 2 components of that proposal, the office planning study update and the facility condition assessments, which we think are important for the state to understand the condition of its buildings and its options moving forward. However, we recommend that work be funded out of the service revolving fund rather than the general fund, which we think is consistent with historical practice and also better matches the source of the funds with the beneficiaries, which are the agencies that occupy this space. And then further, we do recommend rejecting the $1 million in funding at this point for the sequencing and funding plans. And our rationale for that is that we think that it's premature to fund those components because they're really going to depend largely on what's found in the facility condition assessment and the update to the office planning study. So if, for example, those elements find that there are only a handful of buildings that really require significant planning and attention, it may be that the scope of the funding and sequencing plan would need to be modified. So we also recommend that the legislature require DGS to report on its ongoing plan for facility condition assessments. That's because we do think that it's important to do those, but not just at a one-time kind of snapshot in time, but it's important for the state to have on an ongoing basis sufficient information on our facility conditions, so we're able to make those kinds of choices in terms of what we want to do with our facilities going forward.
Thank you. Finance?
Yeah, I would just mention that we agree with the staff's comments. We believe that delaying the second part of this the study would unnecessarily delay activities that are needed in the Sacramento area, and that the funding source is appropriate given the mix of departments and such that would be involved.
Senator Berryhill, any questions or concerns?
I think so. Yeah, are we taking CADA properties into account with these studies?
Go ahead.
These are strictly non-CADA properties. So this is the 34 state-owned buildings in the Sacramento area.
All right, thank you.
Any public comment on this particular issue? Issue number 8. Excuse me. Senator Berryhill, what's your pleasure with respect to issue number 8? It's been moved. Please call the roll.
Senator Roth?
Aye.
Senator Berryhill?
Aye.
And by the way, that vote was on the staff recommendation to approve as budgeted. Issue number 9 is a discussion-only item. It's Capital Area Development Authority. Who will be presenting?
Mr. Martone.
You're on, sir.
Thank you. This is a proposal, it's an issue with Capital Area Development Authority. In the mid-'60s, the state of California acquired 42 blocks of property south of the Capitol for the redevelopment of the Sacramento downtown core and for the development of the Sacramento area. Staff had some questions here, and currently there's been ongoing dialogue between CADA and Department of General Services. Part of the May 11 Governor's May revision was to look at state properties that weren't particularly necessary for, or core competencies for the state that may be not necessary. So part of that May revise looked at CADA was one of the things that was addressed. Is it still something that the state wants to be involved in? So CADA has come to the Department of General Services and has been meeting with us probably for about the last month and having some dialogues on kind of what the parameters would be, what some of the ideas would be, how would the state get out of their legal and contractual obligations, as well as, what properties would make most sense. So we're still in kind of preliminary conversations. The Department of General Services, once we had the opportunity, if some terms to some agreement were to come to fruition, we would vet it through the administration, and if subsequent legislation, we would share that. But at this point, it's a little bit premature to share that legislation. So we're having those conversations and expect to have more information in the next couple months.
Well, do you have a timeline? Is there a plan of action here in terms of when you expect to have the agreement negotiated, when you propose to have it negotiated, when the plan will be submitted?
I don't think there's like a set timeline just yet. Ultimately, it's a little premature right now. We're still kind of hammering out the finer details, but ultimately, if a deal was to be proposed, I think the objective is to try to run it this year for legislation changes. But we're not there yet, just yet.
Elio?
We have no comments.
Finance? Senator Berryhill?
Yeah, I got a couple questions. Why are we pulling the trigger with CADA right now? I mean, until that study is done, we don't know what we might even need. And for example, what if the study gets out there and we find out that we actually need more room, more space? You know, now we've went and we started selling properties when we really getting the cart ahead of the horse a little bit here, don't you think?
Well, that's a good point, member. We're still kind of looking at it as a whole, whether it's a viable option, kind of consistent with the 2011 May revise. I mean, it's a proposal that's under consideration, but it would be something that would be brought to the administration and the legislature to see if it still makes sense.
So good news to follow type. Once this study's done, you're going to come to us with your recommendations?
For the yes, absolutely, would come forward with what the recommendations are.
Before you sell those 5 properties, or are you going ahead with the sale of 5 properties now?
There's currently 5 developmental ground leases that are being discussed for being sold.
All right, well, I would appreciate if you keep us appraised as you move forward on this.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you.
Anything further, gentlemen? That concludes the agenda for today. If there's no other business to come before this... Oh, we can open up on the vote-only items. So let's open the roll on the vote-only items. Items 0911, 1110, and 11, Department of Consumer Affairs, 1690, well, no, that's the discussion, excuse me. Vote-only items, 1110 and 1111, California Department of Consumer Affairs, 7760, Department of General Services, 8790, Commission on Disability Access, and 8830, California Law Revision Committee, the vote-only items. Opening the roll.
Senator Berryhill?
Aye.
Now, that concludes the agenda for Budget Subcommittee number 4. So hearing no other business, what we will do is we're going to take a 10-minute recess, and we will come back for the oversight hearing on the information technology procurement and implementation. 10 minutes.